The god of medicine to the Greeks was Asclepius, noted by his staff or rod, which contained a single serpent entwined along it. He even converses with Hermes in the Corpus Hermeticum. Still to this day, many medical establishments use the staff of Asclepius as a logo. We can see the similarities between this staff and Hermes Caudasus, noting Hermes' alchemic ties being Mercury, one of the three primes, seen as that which unifies opposites via coincidentia oppositorum. Even Jung had Hermes on his Bollingen stone, his own personal philosopher's stone, though he often used the name Telosphoros to describe the character, who was the child god of healing. In ancient Egyptian culture, healing is seen via the eyes of Ra and Horus. The left wedgeot is Horus, symbolized by the moon, while the right wedgeot is symbolic of Ra, and thus the sun. According to the myths, Set tore out the eyes of Horus, who was later, of course, healed by Thoth. This makes sense when considering the relationship of Ra and Set, both of whom are tied to the fall and rise of the sun, symbolic of death and rebirth. On his solar bark, Ra would travel along the sky and then, as the sun set, would travel to the underworld, battling with the serpent Apophis alongside Set. We related this to Khepri as well via Crowley, highlighting upon the significance of the scarab's ties to the sun as well as death and rebirth. We have noted the importance of Iao, Isis, Apophis, Osiris, and how we are living in the age of Horus as children, akin to Harpocrates, the child god Horus, seen as the god of silence. Remember, the etymology of mystery comes from mystes, linked to initiation, as was noted in the Dionysian or Eleusinian mysteries, as well as the word myo, meaning to close or to shut, related to muin, meaning to close the eyes or lips, since the mysteries are essentially the great secrets, related to the mystical which cannot be conveyed outside of the limits of language, proving to be paradoxically expressed, hence Crowley's appreciation for Lewis Carroll. Much like in the Garden of Eden, the serpent is also the one who gnostically enlightens, tied to Lucifer and illumination as well as Prometheus. The snake is also associated with the 22 paths taken on the Sephiroth, which can be represented by the 22 major arcana of the Tarot, which when combined with the 10 Sephiroth spheres, represented by the flaming sword from Genesis 3:24, gives us the 32 paths to wisdom. To Crowley, the melding of sun and moon was thus seen as a coinciding of opposites, an occultation that was quite alchemical, used for healing purposes. Sex magic, via aurato comatose lucidity, could allow one to engage with the gods in a shamanic manner, relying upon the ecstasy of intercourse to achieve a trance state, similar to the mystery cults we previously mentioned and Hindu Tantra, helping one obtain their guardian angel tied to the astral body or Agawites, allowing them to be reborn by way of Babylon in the Night of Pan, past Karanzan's abyss, undergoing ego death, emptying their essence into the holy grail of Babylon so as to be reborn, fulfilling the age-old Arthurian quest of Parzival. Marvin Gaye's song Sexual Healing comes to mind here. With love being the law, the connections to Aphrodite and Venus, and thus Lucifer and Gnostic illumination are obvious, where one finds themselves frolicking with the transcendental fairies Tannhauser found at Venusberg. To Crowley, love always yieldeth, and love always hardeneth, Layla, influenced by the Persian poem Layla and Majnun by Nizami Ganjavi, just as Eric Clapton was. The whole point of magic like thaumaturgy is to actualize something in reality by way of manifesting or conjuring it into creation. Things like Deleuze's virtual or Lance hyperstition have their origins in magic. Deleuze's notion of the virtual stems from Bergsonian duration, which contains within it endless multiplicities, infinities within infinities akin to Cantor's set theory. Bergson's sister, Mina, would later marry Samuel Liddell McGregor Mathers, connecting her to the occult. Like how the refraction of a rainbow yields pluralities from one white light, as Newton demonstrated, adept alchemist that he was, we can connect the all to the one in the Hermetic sense, lost within the Citrinitas or peacock's tail stage of the alchemic process, lost to the relativity of the rainbow, engaging in endless possibilities and interpretations. While Deleuze noted that the virtual was both ideal and real, Marx noted, however, in his thesis on Feuerbach, there is a distinction between idealism and materialism. As Marx famously noted, philosophers have gone about merely interpreting the world when in fact the real point is to transform and change the world. Here we can note some of the more eschatological Gnostic and alchemic elements of Marx, bringing about change on the path of progress. To Marx, human beings are ultimately shaped by their material environment, akin to many social constructivist claims. Even consciousness itself is determined by one's social class and social relations. History has thus been shaped in this materialistic sense, known as historical materialism. And here, again, we see the concept of death and rebirth beginning to boil up to the surface in the Marxist system, albeit from a socially constructed and materialist as opposed to idealist perspective. Hegel's push down the road of history would be idealist in scope, where the self is actualized through negation as subject and object, influence one another, coming to consciousness, arriving at the absolute of spirit. Land and Deleuze, not being fans of Hegel and the dialectic due to its focus on identity as opposed to difference, falls closer to Crowley's system due to the paradoxical nature of language itself. As Crowley noted when commenting on Kant and Hegel, both philosophers were simultaneously right and wrong. In The Psychology of Hashish, he states, "In the world of common sense, reason works. In the world of philosophy, it doesn't." As Crowley states in the Book of Lies, Knox adds to 210, which symbolizes the reduction of duality to unity and thence to negativity, and is thus a hieroglyph of the great work. Knox, of course, refers to the Night of Pan, connected to killing oneself, so as to be reborn, as we mentioned above. The term Goetia, as we stated in a prior essay of ours, relates to charm, jugglery, or sorcery. The word juggler, of course, relates to the jester who tells jokes or jests and pulls tricks upon people. Reynard the Fox is even mentioned by Nietzsche in Twilight of the Idols as being a master of the dialectic, where to Nietzsche, dialecticians were distrusted as being deceptive before Socrates' time, making Socrates a fool who just happened to be taken seriously during his time. Magic is thus commonly associated with trickster archetypes like Prometheus, alluring people by sleight-of-hand tricks. Blue Oyster Cult's Don't Fear the Reaper highlights upon the truth of transformation. The album cover even includes cards from Crowley's own Tarot or Thoth deck, fanned out by a magician who was turning card tricks. The hippie culture owes much to Crowley, and as noted by Io and Petrucciano in Eros and Magic in the Renaissance, magic was a precursor to psychology, so John Lennon's Mind Games comes to mind here. No surprise to see people like Timothy Leary state that he was merely continuing on with Crowley's work. His eight-circuit model of consciousness, as well as Korzybski's semantics and Crowley, would be the basis for Robert Anton Wilson's Prometheus Rising. And as any anime fan is aware, we know how Leary's eight-circuit model was used as the plot device for Serial Experiments Lain, tied to how the virtual world of the Wired is manifested magically into being or actualized into existence, allowing Lane to undergo Jungian individuation and become a quote-unquote god. Few people take magic or the occult seriously anymore in the modern-day age, even though its influence is all around us, hidden or occulted from the perceptions of common people, misunderstanding Kenneth Anger's love for Lucifer. As such, for the oncoming future, men will perhaps become more magically minded, attempting to understand the origins behind all of their actions, awakening in the Gnostic sense akin to Sleeping Beauty, from the spellbound state of dead sleep, left with a touch of love along their lips so as to be reborn. With love being linked to the law and the will, it will be love that reawakens this unconscious and Gnostic world from the spell of ensorcelled sleep, coming finally to consciousness. Let the law be love awakens worlds.